Everyone feared her, the confident, plus-sized CEO who ruled her company with iron rules, until one man walked in and changed everything. This is the story of Eunice John, and how love made her break her own rules. The sun had barely risen over the Phoenix skyline when the mirrored glass of John Tech Industries began to shimmer like liquid gold. Inside the towering building, the atmosphere was charged, not with excitement, but tension. Every morning was the same. The moment Eunice John, CEO of the billion-dollar company, walked through the main lobby, conversations died mid-sentence. Coffee mugs froze halfway to lips. Heels clicked faster against the marble as people moved discreetly out of her path. She didn't yell. She didn't glare. Yet her presence commanded silence. Dressed in a tailored black suit that hugged her full, curvy frame, her heels struck the floor with quiet precision. A diamond-studded watch flashed beneath her cuff. Her face, striking, confident, calm, showed nothing of emotion. At 30, Eunice John had inherited her late father's empire and rebuilt it from the ground up. Under her, profits soared. Investors adored her results. Employees, however, called her something else. The Ice Queen of Phoenix. Across the lobby, Collins Peters adjusted his tie nervously, clutching his internship packet. At 35, he was older than most interns. His career change from teaching to corporate business had been bold, maybe foolish. But today was his first day, and he was determined to make an impression. "Are you the new guy?" asked a petite woman at the reception desk, giving him a sympathetic smile. "Yes, Collins Peters. I'm supposed to report to Human Resources," he said politely. She handed him a visitor's badge. "Good luck, Mr. Peters. And a piece of advice. Don't cross paths with Miss John unless you're invited." He frowned. "Miss John?" Her eyes darted toward the elevator. "You'll know when you see her." He soon did. When the elevator doors opened on the 25th floor, he stepped out and almost collided with her. For a moment, time froze. She stood before him, folders in one arm, coffee in the other, eyes sharp as steel. Up close, she was stunning. Smooth, dark skin, glossy curls pulled into a bun, and a composure that radiated authority. "You must be the new intern," she said evenly. "Mr. Collins Peters?" "Yes, ma'am. Sorry, I think I, took the wrong turn. I was looking for HR." Her lips curved, barely. "Apparently, you found the CEO instead." She set her coffee on her desk, then handed him a thin document. The cover page read, "Professional Rules of Conduct, Office of Eunice John." "Before you begin," she said, walking behind her desk, "you'll sign this. Everyone in this department follows my rules." He flipped through the pages. They were extensive. No personal conversations, no casual jokes or physical contact. All communication via email. No entry into my office without appointment. No staying behind after official hours unless authorized. It was stricter than a military manual. "I understand, ma'am," he said, signing it, though a flicker of curiosity danced in his eyes. "Good. Welcome to John Tech." She returned to her screen without another word. Over the next few weeks, Collins learned quickly that Eunice John's office ran like a clock. Her meetings started on the 2nd, ended on the 2nd. Her memos were flawless. She expected efficiency, and she gave it back tenfold. But what fascinated him wasn't her power, it was her solitude. In the cafeteria, employees whispered, "She doesn't smile at anyone. She fired a guy for telling her she looked nice. She thinks she's better than us because she's big and bold." Yet Collins saw something else. He saw the tiredness beneath her flawless poise. The way she double-checked files herself late in the evening. The way she adjusted her suit before walking into meetings, like a warrior putting on armor. And once, long after closing hours, he saw her kneel down to help a janitor whose cleaning cart had spilled down the hallway. She picked up papers, smiled softly, and told him to take the rest of the night off. No one else saw that. But Collins did. It was on a Thursday night that everything changed. The company was preparing for a major investor presentation, Most employees had left hours ago, but Eunice's office still glowed with light. Papers covered her desk, her phone buzzed endlessly, and a single cup of coffee had gone cold beside her. Collins was still there, double-checking a datasheet. He could see her silhouette through the frosted glass, head bent, hand pressed to her temple. She'd been working non-stop for days. As the clock ticked toward 9, people began to leave. Passing her glass-walled office, some glanced inside but said nothing. "Is she still in there?" someone whispered. "Yeah, she's always the last to leave. I wouldn't bother." Another laughed quietly. "She'd probably bite your head off if you asked if she's okay." Moments later, Collins looked up again. Something felt off. Eunice was slumped forward, unmoving. He froze, then stood. "Miss John?" he called through the door. No response. He looked around. The hallway was emptying fast. Tasha, the assistant, appeared from behind him. "Don't," she whispered urgently. "If she catches you in there, you'll lose your job." "She's not moving. She's fine. She always stays late." "Tasha, she's not fine." Ignoring the warning, Collins pushed open the door. "Miss John?" he called again, stepping closer. She was motionless, her head resting on her arm, skin pale beneath the soft office light. His heart pounded. He gently shook her shoulder. "Eunice?" No response. In a rush of panic, he grabbed his phone and called security. "CEO office now. She's unconscious." The next few minutes blurred. Security guards arrived, followed by her driver. Collins helped them lift her carefully as they carried her out. The elevator doors closed, and the hallway fell silent again. An hour later, Collins stood in the white corridor of St. Mary's Hospital, his sleeves rolled up, heart still racing. He had called an ambulance, followed them here, and now waited anxiously. A nurse came out first. "You're the one who brought her in?" "Yes," he said. "Is she okay?" "She'll be fine. She's just exhausted. Severe stress and dehydration. Doctor says she needs complete rest." Collins exhaled in relief, leaning against the wall. Thank God. When the doctor emerged, clipboard in hand, Collins stepped forward. "She's stable," the doctor confirmed. "Stress collapse. It happens to people who don't know when to stop." "She works too hard," Collins murmured. "She needs bead rest," the doctor added, "and maybe someone to remind her she's human." Collins nodded quietly. He waited a little longer until her driver came out from the ward and told him she was sleeping. There was nothing else he could do. As he walked out into the warm Phoenix night, the city lights glimmered like molten stars. He paused by his car, staring up at the vast dark sky. He couldn't shake the image of her slumped over that desk. Powerful, perfect, but so utterly alone. Everyone saw Eunice John, the CEO, but maybe no one really saw Eunice, the woman. The next morning, whispers filled the office like wildfire. "She fainted?" "At the office? I heard the intern found her." "Yeah, Collins something. Brave or stupid, depending on how you see it." Collins ignored the murmurs, focusing on his work. But inside, he couldn't help worrying. That afternoon, a company-wide email arrived from the assistant. Subject: temporary leave of absence. "Miss Eunice John will be taking a few days off for health reasons. Please direct urgent matters to the executive assistant until her return." No one said it aloud, but the office felt lighter. People laughed a little more, moved a little slower. But Collins didn't feel relief. He felt something else. That evening, he lingered by the large glass window, watching the sunset paint the Arizona desert orange and gold. For the first time, he wondered if the rules she made weren't about control at all. Maybe they were shields, armor forged from pain, from years of being judged for her weight, her confidence, her success. Maybe she built walls not to keep people out, but to stop herself from being hurt. The thought stayed with him all night, long after he left the office. 2 days later, he got a text from an unknown number. "This is Eunice John. I was told you were the one who called security that night. Thank you. He stared at the message, then smiled faintly before replying. I'm just glad you're okay, ma'am. Rest well. The office can wait. There was no reply after that, but it didn't matter, because for the first time since he joined John Tech, Collins Peters felt something no one else had dared to feel toward the formidable CEO. Not fear, not awe, but compassion. And somewhere, in the quiet of her mansion, Eunice John lay awake, staring at her phone, wondering why that simple message from an intern made her chest ache with something she hadn't felt in years: warmth. The mansion in the heart of Phoenix was grand, all glass and marble, but it was far too quiet for its size. Outside, the palms swayed gently in the dry breeze. Inside, Eunice John sat beside her pool, a laptop open across her lap even though the doctor had ordered strict rest. Emails, reports, board summaries. Work was her medicine, and her poison. Her housekeeper, Maria, appeared with a tray of tea. Ma'am, you need to rest. Doctor said no work. I'm just reviewing, Eunice murmured, eyes still on the glowing screen. Maria frowned, stepped closer, and boldly took the laptop from her hands. Reviewing can wait. You nearly collapsed, Miss John. Eunice sighed, sinking back into the lounge chair. For the first time in years, she let herself look tired. The silence pressed in on her. No ringing phones, no meetings, no controlled chaos. Just stillness. It unnerved her. Then the doorbell rang. Maria returned moments later. There's a visitor, ma'am. Says his name is Collins Peters. Eunice blinked. The intern? Yes, ma'am. Should I send him away? Eunice hesitated. No. Let him in. Moments later, Collins appeared on the patio, dressed neatly but casually, holding a bouquet of sunflowers and a small white envelope. I hope I'm not intruding, he said gently. Eunice gestured for him to sit. You didn't have to come. I wanted to check on you, he said. You scared everyone, especially me. She arched a brow. You? Oh, I was terrified. He laughed softly. Just didn't have time to show it. For a moment she studied him, the sincerity in his eyes, the easy warmth in his voice. So few people spoke to her this way. He handed her the envelope. Inside was a simple handwritten note. You don't always have to carry the world alone. Eunice smiled faintly. You write like a teacher. He chuckled. That's because I used to be one. For the first time in a long time, Eunice laughed, a low, warm sound that surprised even her. Thank you, Collins. No need, he said. Just rest. The company will survive a few days without you. She doubted that, but she didn't argue. Days passed. Collins began stopping by after work. Never long, never intruding. He'd share small stories from the office, who spilled coffee on the printer, who accidentally sent an email to the entire staff. Little things that made her laugh. In return, Eunice found herself listening and opening up in ways she never had. I used to think kindness was weakness, she admitted one evening, that people would take advantage of it. Kindness isn't weakness, he said quietly. It's courage, especially when the world expects you to be hard. Something shifted that night. When Eunice returned to work the next week, she felt lighter. She smiled at employees in the elevator. She said good morning to her team. She even stopped by the break room for coffee. At first, people thought it was a trap, but soon, curiosity turned to disbelief, then warmth. One afternoon, she found Collins waiting in her office doorway. Permission to enter? He teased, holding up a printed copy of The Rules of Eunice John. She rolled her eyes. You're never going to let me forget that, are you? Not a chance. But I was thinking, maybe you should loosen one rule. She folded her arms. Which one? The one about no personal interactions. She stared at him for a long moment. Why? Because people don't fear you, Eunice, he said softly. They fear what they don't understand. Maybe if they saw you, not the CEO, they'd love you. The words lingered long after he left. That night she stood on her balcony, looking out over Phoenix. The city lights shimmered like scattered stars. For the first time since her father's death, she wondered what it would be like to simply be human again. By Friday morning, a new idea had taken root. "Send a memo to all staff," she told Tasha. "Invite everyone to my house tomorrow evening. Casual clothes, food, drinks, music." Tasha's jaw dropped. "Everyone, ma'am. Everyone. No exceptions." "Yes, ma'am." The next evening, John Tech employees gathered in awe at her mansion. Most had never imagined being invited here. The atmosphere buzzed with disbelief and excitement. Eunice appeared at the top of the staircase wearing a flowing red dress, her curls loose, her smile unguarded. For once, she wasn't the CEO, just a woman among her team. "Welcome, everyone," she said warmly. "This company thrives because of you. Tonight, no business, just fun." Music started. Laughter filled the rooms. People who had once avoided her now relaxed around her. Eunice moved from group to group, laughing, teasing, even dancing a little. She surprised everyone by revealing she could cook, and soon brought out her signature jerk chicken and homemade salad. Colin stood by the patio, watching her glow in the warm light. It was as if the ice around her had melted, revealing someone radiant beneath. But not everyone was pleased. Across the room, David, the senior manager, watched the growing friendship between Eunice and Collins with narrowed eyes. He leaned toward another executive. "She's getting too close to that intern," he muttered. "You'll see, he's after something." By Monday, rumors had spread. Whispers trailed behind Collins in the hallways. "Teacher boy thinks he's her favorite. She's probably giving him a promotion. I bet he's charming her for influence." Eunice heard the whispers too. Each one was a sting. She told herself not to care, but old insecurities clawed back to the surface. By Wednesday, she was back to her old habits. Closed doors, formal emails, polite distance. Collins noticed immediately. When he knocked on her door one evening, she didn't look up. "Busy?" she said shortly. He stood there for a moment. "Is this about the rumors?" Her eyes flicked up sharply. "It's about work, Mr. Peters." He exhaled. "You don't have to shut everyone out because people can't mind their business. This is a company, not a social club," she said coldly. "Now, if you'll excuse me." He left quietly. By Friday, only half the employees showed up to her weekly get-together. The mansion that once rang with laughter now felt dimmer. Eunice kept her smile fixed as she moved among the smaller crowd, though her heart wasn't in it. She overheard two junior staff whispering by the buffet. "I heard she's embarrassed. She shouldn't have mixed work and play." She pretended not to hear, but it burned. Then just as she was about to slip away, the doorbell rang. Colin stood there, slightly out of breath, holding a large box of pizza. "Sorry I'm late," he said cheerfully. Traffic was insane. Her expression softened, despite herself. "You came." "Of course I did." He set the pizza down, then turned to the quiet crowd. "Can I say something?" Everyone looked up. Collins raised his glass. "When I first joined this company, people told me to fear Miss John. They said she was cold, intimidating, unreachable. But you know what I saw? A woman who carried all of us on her shoulders, who rebuilt a company from ashes, who never stopped fighting, even when we left her to stand alone." The room went still. "She's not cold," he continued. "She's strong. She's the reason we have jobs, the reason this company has a heartbeat. And tonight, I think we should toast to the woman who saved John Tech, and to the heart she's finally letting us see." Silence hung for a moment. Then someone clapped. Another followed. Soon the entire room erupted in cheers and applause. Eunice's throat tightened. For once, the noise didn't feel like pressure. It felt like belonging. She blinked rapidly, forcing the tears back, then lifted her glass. "Thank you, Collins," she said softly. The party came alive again. Music, laughter, voices filling the air. Later that night, as the crowd thinned, Collins walked her to the porch. The desert breeze was warm against the soft hum of city lights. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for saving my company again." He smiled. I didn't save it. You did. She looked up at him, eyes shimmering in the golden porch light. You broke my rules. He grinned. Maybe some rules are meant to be broken. For a heartbeat, neither moved. The air between them pulsed with something unspoken, soft, magnetic, and new. Then Eunice smiled, a real, unguarded smile that reached her eyes. Good night, Collins. Good night, Eunice. As she watched him walk down the driveway, she realized something startling. For years, her rules had protected her. Now she wasn't sure she needed them anymore. The Arizona sun burned low over Phoenix, throwing long gold streaks across the John Tech Tower. Inside, the once silent offices now hummed with life. Laughter spilled from cubicles, music played softly on Fridays, and the air buzzed with purpose. 6 months had passed since Eunice John had changed the way she led, and the company had never been stronger. John Tech Industries had just secured its biggest deal in a decade. Investors praised its innovation and unity, employees spoke with pride, and morale soared higher than ever. And at the center of it all was Eunice John, her leadership finally blending power with warmth. Yet beneath that polished calm, something else stirred, something she hadn't planned for. Across the conference table, Collins Peters, now promoted to project manager, led a presentation with quiet confidence. His once nervous demeanor had transformed into poise. Every time Eunice watched him, she felt that strange pull again, a warmth that both comforted and terrified her. She told herself it was admiration, respect, gratitude, but the truth whispered something deeper, and that frightened her more than any board meeting ever could. That evening, Eunice stayed behind in her office, staring out at the Phoenix skyline. She traced her reflection in the glass, strong, successful, untouchable. Yet inside, her thoughts were chaos. What would people say if they knew? The CEO and the intern? The tabloids would feast for weeks. He deserves better than rumors. Better than me. Her phone buzzed. A message from Collins. Big day tomorrow. The board presentation's ready. Don't stay up too late, boss. She smiled faintly, fingers hovering over the screen before setting the phone aside. She couldn't reply. Not tonight. Because the closer he came, the harder it became to breathe. The next morning, the board meeting went flawlessly. The investors applauded, the chairman shook hands, and the company's future looked brighter than ever. After the meeting, Collins waited in the hallway, his usual grin ready. You were incredible in there. We were incredible, she corrected, her eyes softening. He laughed. If I didn't know better, I'd think you were starting to like me. She turned away quickly, hiding her smile. Don't let it get to your head, Peters. But he noticed the warmth behind her words, and the hesitation in her eyes. Over the next few weeks, their friendship deepened into something neither could easily define. Lunches turned into late-night project talks, which turned into shared silences that said more than words ever could. Everyone in the office saw it, the chemistry, the trust, the quiet affection. And though Eunice tried to ignore it, every time he smiled at her, her walls trembled. One late evening, Collins entered her office with a sealed envelope in his hand. She looked up. You're still here? Yeah, he said quietly, setting the envelope on her desk. I needed to give you this before I left. Left? She frowned. Left for the night? He hesitated. Left. For good. She froze. What do you mean? I'm resigning, Eunice. Her pulse quickened. Why? Because He stopped, searching for words. Because people are talking. They think I got here because of you. And I can't be the reason anyone disrespects you. Her jaw tightened. I don't care what people say. I do, he said softly. And I care about what it does to you. You've fought too hard for your place here. I won't be the reason anyone questions it. She stood abruptly, her voice sharp. That's ridiculous. You've earned your position. He shook his head. Maybe. But rumors spread faster than truth. He turned toward the door, but her voice stopped him. "Don't walk away, Collins." He looked back. She stood there, no longer the composed CEO, but a woman torn between pride and pain. "This company was my life," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "It's all I had after my father died. Every rule, every wall, I built them to keep people from tearing me apart again. And now you—" She stopped, swallowing hard. "Now you're leaving because of me." "I'm leaving because he began, but she cut in. "Because you what?" He met her eyes. "Because I'm in love with you." The room went still. The only sound was the hum of the city beyond the glass walls. She looked at him stunned. "Don't say that. It's the truth. You can't. Not here. Not like this. Then tell me it's just me. Tell me you don't feel the same, and I'll go." Her lips parted, but no words came. Instead, she turned away, fighting the tears that burned behind her eyes. "Eunice," he whispered, stepping closer. "Why does it matter what people think?" She spun around, her voice cracking. "Because I worked too hard to be respected. I can't lose it over feelings." He didn't back down. "Then maybe it's time you stop living by rules and start living by heart." Silence fell again, charged and raw. For a long moment, neither moved. Then, slowly, he reached for her hand. She didn't pull away. Her breath hitched as he stepped closer, his touch gentle, patient. "You're allowed to be happy, Eunice," he said softly. "Even CEOs are human." And then, in that quiet moment, she let go of everything, the rules, the fear, the armor, and let herself fall. Their lips met, a kiss not of impulse but of release, of everything she'd denied herself for too long. The next morning brought reality crashing back. Word spread fast. David, the senior manager, had filed a complaint accusing Collins of favoritism and misconduct. Gossip erupted like wildfire. Eunice was summoned to a special board meeting. When she entered the room, heads turned, whispers filled the space. Collins stood at the far end, tense but calm. David smirked from his seat, waiting for her downfall. The chairman cleared his throat. "Miss John, we've received allegations regarding unprofessional behavior involving Mr. Peters. Care to respond?" Eunice stood tall, her gaze steady. "Yes," she said clearly. "I'm aware of the rumors, and they're wrong." David leaned forward. "So, you deny favoritism?" "I deny nothing," she replied coolly. "Collins Peters has earned every position through skill and integrity. He's the reason this company rediscovered its humanity. If that makes people uncomfortable, so be it." Murmurs rippled across the room. The chairman nodded slowly. "Well said, Miss John. Integrity speaks louder than rumor." David's smirk faltered. The board dismissed his claims immediately. When the meeting adjourned, Eunice and Collins walked out side by side. For the first time in her career, she didn't care who saw. A year later, the mansion that once held silence now overflowed with laughter and music. The Friday gatherings had evolved into a beloved company tradition, but tonight was different. This one was their night. Fairy lights draped across the garden, soft music floated through the warm desert air, and laughter bubbled like champagne. Eunice stood at the top of the staircase in a simple, off-shoulder ivory gown. Her curls framed her glowing face and joy lit her eyes. Collins waited by the altar, his suit crisp, his smile uncontainable. As she walked toward him, employees and friends clapped. Maria wiped her eyes, and Tasha grinned wide enough to hurt. When Eunice reached him, he took her hands. "Still think breaking your rules was a bad idea?" he whispered. She smiled, her eyes glistening. "It was the best thing that ever happened to me." They exchanged vows under the phoenix sky, the city lights twinkling in the distance. When they kissed, the crowd erupted in cheers. The woman once feared for her rules was now celebrated for breaking them, and for finding love where she least expected it. Later that night, Eunice stood on the balcony overlooking the desert horizon. Collins wrapped his arms around her from behind, his chin resting on her shoulder. "Remember your first rule?" he murmured. No personal relationships. She laughed softly. I also remember who broke it first. Guilty, he said, kissing her cheek. She turned to face him, eyes full of warmth. You changed my world, Collins. He smiled. You just needed someone brave enough to walk through your walls. They looked out over Phoenix together, its lights flickering like 1,000 small fires, each one a reminder that even the hardest hearts can burn again. And in that moment, surrounded by laughter and love, Eunice John realized something simple and profound. Rules had built her empire, but breaking them had given her life. In the heart of Phoenix, where the desert meets the fire, two souls found love, not by following the rules, but by breaking them. Thank you so much for watching and supporting my channel. Your love, comments, and shares mean everything to me. Grateful for each of you. Let's keep growing together. With love,